The Bronx is part of New York, no question. It is one of the 5 boroughs. Westchester is a Tony community just north of New York City, in between New York City and Connecticut. Westchester has got a lot of very well-heeled communities like Bronxville. That's where, well, I guess I shouldn't say, but somebody very famous who runs a very big sports organization lives and has raised his children. All sorts of lovely little pockets there. One half of it is on the water, the Hudson River, and overlooks that. And then on the other side, you kind of walk up and there's more water. Anyway, there's a beautiful little town called Yorktown Heights in Westchester. It's not the fanciest of Westchester towns, but it ain't the Bronx by any measure. And the reason this is relevant is because a congresswoman who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl. And we eat Queens boys for breakfast," because that's where Trump was raised, in the Queens. And respectfully, AOC. Well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5, when at best you're in usually kindergarten, maybe first grade. And she spent the rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx, with all due respect to my friends in the Bronx. She's pretending to be a Bronx girl because she wants this to be part of her origin story, the same way as she wants now to be called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Meanwhile, everyone knew her as Sandy Cortez when she was growing up. And her lies are coming to the fore. So, among other things, Benny Johnson, who's hilarious, and he's a great Twitter follow and has a great show, went to Yorktown Heights just to take a look and to talk to some folks there about AOC and what Yorktown is like and so on. And now some of her schoolmates, separate and apart from Benny, are weighing in on her claims. I'll get to the Benny thing in one second, but there was a piece in the New York Post talking about how she's embarrassing herself. She's embarrassing herself now with this Bronx girl claim. They went and tracked down Assemblyman Matt Slater, who's a Republican from Yorktown, New York State Assembly, and he said, quote, "She's embarrassing herself for doing everything possible to avoid saying she grew up in the suburbs instead of the Bronx. What she said now that people are starting to look at whether she's a Bronx girl, which she's not, is, quote, "I'm proud of how I grew up, and I talk about it all the time. My mom cleaned houses and I helped. We cleaned tutors' homes in exchange for SAT prep." She went to Boston University. Again, she's like Mom Dami. She wants to, he's picturing himself eating with his hands like he's fresh off the boat from someplace. And she's talking about how she's been cleaning houses her whole life. Meanwhile, she grew up in Yorktown. Then she writes, she says, "Growing up between the Bronx and Yorktown deeply shaped my views of inequality. And it's a big reason I believe the things I do today." Now back to Matt Slater, who says, first she said she has visited extended family. Then she said she had commuted between the Bronx and Yorktown. I was just visiting Yorktown Heights. Oh, I was just commuting. And now she's said she grew up in between the two, like back and forth, back and forth. No, she lived in the Bronx when she was 5, then they moved to Yorktown Heights. He says it's clearly desperate attempts to protect the lie that she is from the Bronx. And here is a bit from what Benny Johnson found.
We finally got to Yorktown Heights. Check out this beautiful entry to the city. Trees lining the road.
The violins.
Some beautifully manicured lawns, American flags. This looks like an awesome place to be from. You get out of the car and you find something like this.
Welcome to the capitalist horrors of AOC's Yorktown Heights Patriot State Park. You can see here a Veterans Memorial Circle that's been beautifully tended and groomed with a lot of American flags and a lot of honor for our great nation. Really, just a terrifying place to grow up here. capitalist swine trying to sell me rhubarb at this beautiful Meadows Farm farmer's market that, like, you can smell it. They just want my money, my capitalist dollars. I'm not gonna let them do it, because I'm an angry Marxist. No trash, no graffiti, yellow school buses, disgusting, okay? So safe, so clean. AOC grew up here, now you can understand, okay? You can understand where the radicalization comes from. It's too nice. This is hell. We must destroy America and capitalism. We've been here for 2 hours. We've been walking around. It's beautiful. It's patriotic. There's like American flags on every street. How could you become such a dirty communist growing up here?
If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, maybe it's a duck.
How's it possible?
I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's fake.
So do we all. I've spent a lot of time in Yorktown Heights, actually. My college boyfriend was from there. There are lower end parts of it, but the town net is absolutely beautiful and a lovely place to grow up. She's a liar. She's another cosplayer.
Well, they're all cosplayers, Megyn. I hate to tell you, when I was in Washington for the inauguration, I attended the hearing of RFK's confirmation hearing, and looking out at the horseshoe of senators, the side that was dominated by the Democrats looked like a band that had been assembled for ethnic purposes. We need the socialist Bernie. We need the finger-wagging socialist. We need this guy who looks like this and that person. They're all playing parts. And so she's playing the Bronx girl. But here's what I hear from her story. Her parents took her from the Bronx, maybe a less nice, a rougher neighborhood, and probably through saving money and working hard and following what we used to call the American dream, were able to move to a nicer place. And should she not want that for all of us? In other words, should she not want that social mobility for all of us?
My team's got the helpful map for everybody to see how far away Yorktown Heights is from Bronx.
Why identify with the place that her parents worked hard to get her out of, rather than the place that the parents worked hard to get her to? Yeah. It's cosplay and it's fake, but what it really does is it obscures the fact that she's the product of people who were able to work, save, buy a home, and give their child an education. And it's that process that she should be protecting, not some fake revolution down on the street that her very mom and dad wanted her out of.
Mm-hmm. This, anyone can do this, what she's doing. You look at your circumstances and talk about them in the most dire terms possible to make yourself sound tougher than you are, to make it sound like you overcame more than you did. And in her case, to make it sound like you have street cred when you try to fight the oligarchy. I mean, honestly, I could sit here and say, I was raised by a single mom who was a nurse, who put me through college with their own blood, sweat, and tears. It's true. It's true. All of that is true, except there's some context. For the first 15 years of my life, I had an intact family. My dad was alive and well and was a college professor, first at Syracuse and then at the State University of New York at Albany. And we were a double income family. And my mom was within 9 credits of getting her PhD and was eventually a nursing manager. And then my dad died suddenly. And my mom did have to put me through college with my dad's insurance money. So yeah, we had some knocks. But you see what I'm saying? Like, leaving out the other part would lead you to think I had a much tougher childhood than I really did. And what she wants to do is she wants to inflate the Bronx, the 5 years of Bronx living when she was a toddler, into her actual origin story. Here's another example. I could tell you, Walter, I had to wait tables to put myself through school. I worked day and night, which is true, to make sure I could pay the bills so that I could go to law school and make something of myself. There'd never been a doctor or a lawyer in any of my family. My Nana answered phones for the phone company. My pop-up worked at a paper mill. These were not rich people. Okay, all of that would be true. But the truth is, I was waiting tables in between my summers at Syracuse University, which cost $15,000 a year back then. It's probably a lot more now. I know it's a lot more now. Here's how AOC, who went to Boston University, which I think is more expensive than Syracuse, talks about her
very
stint.
Much more.
Yes, talks about her stint during that same period of her life. Well, listen to this. It's SOT 10.
Because when the system is stacked against you, it's hard to feel like anything you do matters. It's hard to feel like we matter in this democracy. And it is easy to give in to the despair. And I can tell you, I know that when I was waitressing and struggling to put food on the table, for a while there, I did. I tried to stop caring. I tried to just keep my head down, work my shifts, and accept that this is just how things are. But that is no way to live, Arizona. It's no way to live. What I do know is that we don't have to live like this. And in fact, we cannot live like this anymore.
This is ridiculous, Walter.
What in God's name is she talking about? Did she want to outlaw waitressing?
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.